Hello, welcome to another video and a very exciting one. It is time to talk about Polarthon 2022. Whenever I do these Polarthon announcement videos, I always try and make myself look a little bit frosty, and every time I do it, I think, does blue eyeshadow really look horrific on me? But I keep doing it, so yay. But I am in my polar bear sweater. It's not quite a polar bear, it doesn't have any ears. I feel like it should have ears, but it doesn't. I have my little polar companion here, courtesy of G, thanks G. And we are here to talk about Polarthon 2022. Let's sit you here. It's time to talk about Polarthon 2022. If you are unfamiliar with Polarthon, Polarthon is a week-long polar fantasy themed readathon that I host. This is the fourth year? Is this the fourth year I've done this? This is the fourth year I've done this. Hurrah! Welcome to Polarthon 4. I thought it was 3, but I've just worked out it's 4. But yeah, a polar fantasy themed readathon for 1 week in February. You can go and follow at Polarthon on Twitter for any sorts of information outside of this announcement, but I'm going to try and pop everything I can for you into this video. Polarthon. Polar fantasy. Before you ask what polar fantasy is a subgenre of fantasy, basically with anything icy or snowy, set in the Arctic, with icy magic, set whilst it's snowing, in the North Pole, anything like that. Anything that makes it somewhat polar-esque and a fantasy is polar fantasy. But do not worry, because there are plenty of prompts that do not require you to read polar fantasy if you do not want to. There is only one prompt that means a polar fantasy is mandatory. You can kind of bend the others. But this is taking place from the 7th to the 13th of February, which is the first full week of February, and that's the same for every year, so if you want to mark down when Polarthon next year will be, it'll be the first full week of February. It always is, the first, like, Monday to Sunday of February, which happens to be the 7th to the 13th in 2022, so that's the week we're going for. I've got the week off work. I'm excited about it. It's going to be good fun. But the main thing that you're all here for, I reckon, is the prompts and what's going on with it this year. We had teams last year, we've had no teams in years before, so what is happening for the 2022 edition? Well, I am happy to let you know that there are going to be 2 teams that you can pick from for 2022 Polarthon. You can follow the path of the explorers, or you can follow the path of the Arctic animals. And the mission for this readathon is to get to the top of the mountain to meet with the goddess. So I will pop the graphic up here. I'll scooch over so you can see it here. So we have a mountain, we have the goddess in all her glory at the top of the mountain. Explorers are going up one side, Arctic animals going up the other, and the mission is to reach the goddess, and she will grant your wishes. As host of the readathon, I am not on a team. I am the goddess herself. So no team for me. However, your team captains for the explorers is going to be Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin, and your team captain for the Arctic animals is Pris from Pris Sprints. So I've got my middle grade monthly gang together to take on Polarthon this year. However, both Gavin and Pris will also have their own camp leaders. However, I will leave it to them to announce who their camp leaders are. So keep your eyes peeled for those. So they'll have like deputies helping them on their side. But yeah, back to the map. As you can see, there are 5 steps up the map for each team, and the last prompt at the very top is polar fantasy. You have to read a polar fantasy at the end, regardless. So let's go through what the prompts are. Let's start with the explorers. So the explorers are the people going on this expedition up the mountain to reach the top. And the explorers start with a book that features an adventure. So any sort of adventure book, doesn't have to be a polar fantasy, any book that features an adventure counts for this. Their second flag in the mountain is a cold word. So this means a cold word in the title, something like ice or snow or shiver or frost, or any sort of cold word incorporated into the title of the book counts for this one. If it's not in the actual book title, it can be in the series title, that's fine as well. The Explorer's third step up the mountain is a foiled cover. So this is any book cover that has foiling, has that shimmeriness, that shininess. If the edition that you have doesn't have a foiled cover, but you know that there is an edition that does, I'll let you have that as well. Similarly, if you're reading on ebook or audiobook, but you know that there is an edition with a foiled cover, you can have that, that's fine. As long as an edition of the book exists with a foiled cover, you can take that. The Explorer's fourth step up the mountain as they're nearing closer to the goddess and her magic is icy magic. So any sort of book that incorporates icy magic. Again, doesn't have to be a polar fantasy, but anything that has like a character that has some sort of icy magical abilities. Obviously I'm thinking like Frozen, but any sort of icy magical abilities counts for icy magic. And then of course their fifth prompt as they reach the goddess is to read a polar fantasy. Flipping over to the Arctic animals start at the bottom with a cozy vibe. This is because they're used to the mountain. This is where their dens are. Their dens, their homes, their cozy vibes. So any sort of book that has a cozy atmosphere, gives you cozy vibes, you think you could cozy up and read, you can count for that one. Their second stop is snowy cover, so any cover that features snow on it. Again, likewise, if the edition you have doesn't, but you know there is an edition that does, you can take that. So any sort of snowflakes on the cover, snowy like landscape on the cover, anything like that you can take for a snowy cover. Their third step up the mountain is animal friend. The pack sticks together. So any book that features an animal companion, a pet, a sidekick, any sort of animal friend involved in the book somehow counts for that one. Their fourth step up the mountain is Arctic setting. So this is a book that takes place in an Arctic setting. Doesn't have to be a polar fantasy again, you could go non-fiction for this if you wanted. But anything that takes place in an Arctic setting. I'm thinking mountain exploration or anything that's set in the Arctic or Antarctic. Anything with that sort of setting counts for that one. And of course, prompt number 5 for them is the polar fantasy. As they reach the goddess, they have to read the polar fantasy. They are your 5 prompts on either side. However, if you do not want to pledge allegiance to the animals or the explorers, there is another path open to you that is not on the map, and that is the Pilgrim's Path. And the Pilgrim's Path is straight up to the goddess, and that simply means that you have to read 5 polar fantasies. They don't have to fit in any prompts. Each step up the way is a polar fantasy. For the Pilgrim's Path, however, you cannot double up. You have to read 5 polar fantasies to climb the mountain for the Pilgrim's Path. Which brings me on to say, for the other teams, if you want to double up, you can, however they have to be connected. So you could double up for an adventure and a cold word if you were an explorer, but you couldn't double up with cold word and icy magic because they're not connected. Do you know what I mean? And similarly with the animals, you could double up with cozy vibes and snowy cover, but you can't double up with Arctic setting and cozy vibes because they're not connected. So there is the option to double up for either side, but if you go on the Pilgrim's Path, it's just 5 polar fantasies. Now, of course, as there were last year, there will be a tracking form to track your points. I will have that linked down below. It will be cleared before the readathon though, so don't try and input anything before the readathon actually begins because I will just delete it. But in the form, you will be able to select which team you are pledging allegiance for, and then what prompt you fulfilled, what book you read, how many pages it was, etc. And at the end of the readathon, whichever team has the most books, most pages, etc. will win. But that is the basis of this. So you have 3 options available to you: explorers, animals, or the Pilgrim's Path. Tracking form down below. 7th to the 13th of February, all points explained. I will leave a link to download the graphic down below as well. And I think that's just about everything in terms of the readathon. In other news, I will be daily vlogging it again, as I always do. I've got the week off work. There will be plenty of sprinting and daily vlogs from me. It's going to be absolutely hectic. And there is one more special thing that I would like to let you know about. And if you've got a keen eye on the background, you may have noticed them already. I would like to introduce you to the Polarthon collection from Grace and Honey. Ding. I can't hold all three of them together, but here they are. We have a candle for each option on the map. So we have, let me put these down. We have the Explorer, which smells of peppercorn, nutmeg, clove, elderberry and oak moss. This is a lovely brown, leathery sort of colour. Smells very warm, manly, delicious. This is what I imagine the camp for the Explorers would smell like. It is divine. I love it, and Becca's done a fantastic job with the scents on this one, but that is the Explorers. And then of course we have the Arctic Animals, which smells of pine, eucalyptus, rose, vanilla and tonka. This is a beautiful like icy green colour and smells sweet but fresh and frosty. Sweet, fresh and frosty. I don't know how else to describe that. But that is also delightful, and of course they've got like beautiful little flecks of glitter on the top as well. And then finally we have the Goddess. The Goddess is your ultimate goal at the end, and the colours of the Goddess is this beautiful like Aurora Borealis. Becca's done a fantastic job with this. Whilst we were discussing it, I was very much like, I think I'm going too far, but is this possible? And she absolutely smashed it. But this one smells of red currant, cinnamon, strawberry and cherry almond. And this is a very me scent. This is sweet. This is divine, as the Goddess should be. I could eat it. And again, beautiful colourings coming through on the top of that one. It is gorgeous. So the Polarthon candles will be available from graceandhoney.net. I believe they are available now. So I will leave a link down below to Becca's candle shop to go and purchase these if you so wish. Of course they are limited. They are only for Polarthon. They will not be around for too long. So if you want to grab yourself some, I suggest you go and do so right about now. They are divine and I'm really excited that they exist. Thank you so much to Becca for making this possible. I am thrilled, and I'm probably going to buy like 4 sets myself. That is just about everything, I think. So I hope you are as excited as I am, because I am like on the edge of my seat, super excited. It's coming around so soon. Again, I will remind you, 7th to 13th of February, so just under a month away. Everything that you could need is linked down below for you. You can pledge your allegiance to Gavin and the Explorers, or Pris and the Arctic Animals. They will be letting you know who their sub-captains are, leading their teams, helping them out on this journey. So keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, that is everything from me. If you are excited, please do let me know down below. If you already know what team you want to pledge your allegiance to, let me know down below as well. There is no sign-up form necessary for this. It's just going to be inputting your books as you read them. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you're excited. If you are, give us a thumbs up. All that jazz. Remember to follow @Polarthon on Twitter if you have a Twitter account, because there will be things going on there throughout the week as well. But yeah, otherwise, that's everything. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye!